Toon Turf just released, and with the pilot we got a ton of lore and answered questions that originally drove theorists insane. And I've watched Toon Turf over 50 times in the past few days to give you every bit of lore. So in this video I'll be breaking down the whole episode and revealing all of the lore that you missed. Starting with the beginning, Riggy wakes up from a nightmare. In the nightmare we can see a banner on the skull wall with a red rabbit, a penguin, a rhino, Lucky, and a fox that might be Ferric. Also, we see this carrot character in the nightmare area we've seen in this post, and we've seen a decapitated head on the ground also. But we know that this wasn't any nightmare. This is most likely related to the prophecy, as we see Riggy say multiple times that whenever he closes his eyes, he always gets those nightmares. Next, Riggy falls down the stairs after playing with his neighbors. He knocks off this red gem, which is the first thing we see him break in the pilot. Then, after he cleans it up, he goes to say goodbye to his sister Molly, and in the background we can see this Lucky cartoon. Now we can barely make out the cow character that we barely see in Dano shorts, but we can assume from the newspaper that all of the Lucky cartoons / movies are rip-offs of the real life ones, like the Luck Vengers and such. After Riggy makes it to the kitchen, Riggy's mom mentions that he's late, and the clock behind him is actually around 10ish minutes late. And also when Riggy is talking with his parents, they mention how they used to live in Toonville and nothing good comes out of there. But they also mention Rhinopolis and how that place is horrible and Riggy's uncle Bonsai was messed up after going there. But then they rant about how good Lucky is, saying he's fixing Rhinopolis, and we know that Lucky Corp is in Rhinopolis, so maybe Lucky has been the one corrupting it this whole time. And if you look closely, there are a color flower for each member of the family. Blue for Robert, yellow for Jordan, red for Molly, red and blue mix for Riggy, and pink for Rhonda. It's a cool little detail that some people might not notice. Then after Jordan walks in the room, we find out that Jordan is going to medical school today, and that he performed brain surgery at 11 years old. Then after he gets ready to leave, he goes back to grab his lucky lighter when this happens. Purple fire and red graph paper. Now we don't know 100% what this means yet, but it'll probably be connected to the prophecy. Then when he walks in his room, he marks the 13th off the calendar, which might seem normal at first until you realize that he moved into Toonville when he turned 18, but that's still a whole day after. When he's driving with his mom to Toonville, we see a couple references. A penguin with cheese balls, that's going to reference Shorts Wars possibly, a penguin that got ran over, and a plush with a scar out of it near the kidney area, possibly referencing how the penguins like to steal organs. But after he arrives in Toonville and walks to his house, we find out that a tree sprouted into it, and then we see a penguin walk over to him, which before we really never knew why the penguins had beef with him. But this still doesn't help, because the penguin just casually bites his leg without any explanation at all. So I'm thinking maybe they know about the prophecy, since during the first credit scene, we can see a penguin painting the purple fire. So maybe they know about it. Then, Riggy starts skateboarding through the town, then they stop at this frame where we see this bird, and we know from a Dano short that she most likely has a crush on Riggy. So maybe she'll be important later. We can also see Mocha's coffee shop, a fan-made character, and in the background of the next frame, we can see two foxes in the background stalking the situation, which we can see them both in the History of Riggy video, as long as almost everyone in this episode that we know that will be important later. Then when riding around Toonville, Riggy crashes into Dolph, which then Riggy meets his later first girlfriend, Ruby. And then this song plays, which is sung by Candy, Ruby's sister. Then Dolph says he hates that song. Then we find out that they're putting up posters for Red Rabbit Day, which Riggy says this to Ruby.
Isn't it strange that Toonville throws a party over some freak terrorist every year?
This causes her to cry, because if you didn't know, Red Rabbit Day was supposed to celebrate the imprisoning of a crime boss in Toonville. But that was Ruby and Candy's father, that was wrongly imprisoned and framed. They walk away from Riggy, and then Riggy orders ice cream from Moo Moo Ice Cream, which is run by Barry. And this is the first time he meets Barry, but he sees if he has any money for a kid who wants ice cream, but only a penny drops out. But we can see a note in his wallet with the number 550121. Then he tries to be nice to a kid, and then ends up losing the ice cream. I really want to punt this little... Okay, anyways, a penguin then bites Riggy, which then he ends up throwing into an ice cream machine, which causes Riggy to run away. And I think this might be why Barry is mean to Riggy. After Riggy walks over to Crank's construction, we can see that Lucky is inside, crowded by fans for a secret project that we can figure out from the merch is Lucky Land. And the news says that a hooded figure has been breaking out of prison in Rhinopolis and has been scaring people. And it also says the raccoon population has decreased 95%. I wonder if we could connect this to anything. Then Lucky starts doing stuff with his fans, signing a mother's baby's head, and we know that the mother we see in this clip is also the one in the nightmare. And also you can see the foxes we saw in the background and a character we meet later in the series named Darius, which after one of his bodyguards pull up and ends up hitting Riggy, we can see Lucky goes to help Riggy, but recognizes him, and they have never met before, so I wonder if Lucky is seeing Riggy through the prophecy. After Riggy argues with Crank about his house, he ends up getting kicked out from his bodyguard after he says he doesn't care about Lucky. But we can see a Ferris wheel for Lucky inside Crank's, but after being kicked out, Riggy vandalizes the place with the signature logo before Ferric comes and asks him what he's doing, and ends up stopping him. But when trying to figure out what animal he is, we can find out that Molly is called a mabbit, so we were right about that. But after Ferric tells Riggy to stop because he says that Riggy doesn't know what spray painting means, Riggy gets shot at. So I think spray painting might be a very disrespectful thing, more than just vandalism. And after Riggy is shot at, you can see Billy duck from inside Crank's, and Riggy then jumps behind Crank's, and for a couple frames we can see his bones show through his skin. Also, this is where he meets Billy, which Billy is the first one to find Riggy's tail as a cool thing, and gives him a hug. Then after they go to Billy's house to pick up a saw, Riggy meets Billy's mother, Bethel, and we know that she teaches in a school, which she's called into for something, and then we find out that Billy's dad passed away when he was young, so Bethel has been caring for Billy by herself. We get to hear that Billy works at a pet store and owns a penguin named Copernicus, which might not seem important until you realize we knew this before. Back in a short a while ago, Dano has 3 pieces of paper, one called Billy, his overworked mom, and a pet named Copernicus. And I even explained this in one of my first lore videos. And Copernicus looks really close to how the penguin we see in Riggy's last birthday short, so maybe they're connected somehow. Copernicus bites at Riggy's hand, which Billy finds strange, so maybe all the penguins are against Riggy, since he might play an important role in the prophecy and they're trying to stop it. Then, when lighting a dark closet, Billy burns his hand, which he says this:
I've never done well with fire.
Foreshadowing in this series is wild. And in the closet, we can see a toilet paper, a Lucky doll, bottles, a baseball glove, some books, and this Lucky fire extinguisher with crossed out fire, which seems to be purple. If you're enjoying the content so far, consider liking and subscribing. It helps more people find this video, and I post daily shorts, so why not? And it's free and helps out a ton. Alright, back to the lore. After Riggy leaves, he finds out that the penguins have absolutely ransacked his stuff. Also, we can see in this frame a blue bird that we see landed on Billy before the History of Riggy video ended, so I wonder if this has any lore implications. And they get away with most of the items. And through the penguins that ransacked Riggy's stuff, we see this brown penguin with purple eyes holding a match. Could this be a reference to Billy and foreshadowing to how he dies? And then a fox named Darius Daggers offers Riggy some cane, which is Toonville cigarettes. And Riggy says that stuff like this made his Uncle Bonzi go all weird. And Darius seems like he recognizes the name. Also, Darius tells Riggy that Cloud, Toon Turf's bugs, make people go crazy, and that there's loads of it around the streets. Then we see Darius start to break the fourth wall by saying shadows that don't line up, and if you look too close to the ground you can see pixels. Then Riggy starts to think Darius is even more crazy, and then he says this.
You think I'm crazy? Well then tell me, Smarty, did that hoodie always have a zipper on it?
Which is crazy, because if you rewind the footage, Riggy doesn't have the zipper on the hoodie until he hugs Billy, which confirms that their world is constantly changing, more ways than one. And since Darius says that some people disappear and the world is breaking and patching itself together, then Darius tells Riggy that Cloud comes from the factory, which Riggy asks if Lucky has something to do with it. And even though Darius says no, we know that Lucky does. Then Riggy hides in a bush because Billy told his friend Davey, the police officer, that he vandalized Cranks. And it is here where we can find out that Riggy is deathly afraid of cops. Then Riggy explains to Billy his master plan to take Cloud off the streets and to become famous, but Billy tells Riggy that saving people shouldn't be about becoming a celebrity. Now it's in this scene where we can see Riggy get his gloves for the first time, which make me wonder how he got everyone else to start wearing them. Then they climb into the factory after Billy asks Riggy about the weapons he was carrying, and Riggy says it was fine and that nobody would die. Foreshadowing. While looking for the Cloud, Billy says this.
You know, funnily enough, Lucky used to be my hero.
Which I keep wondering what he was gonna say. Lucky was my hero, maybe? If we can figure this out, it might explain a lot more things. After not being able to find the Cloud, Riggy says this.
Fox said it would be here.
And Billy tells them that the foxes are always up to something shifty, so I wonder if the foxes actually wanted to stop the dealings or not. And after the dolphins open the transport door, Billy and Riggy hide behind boxes. If you look at this sign, it says 27 days accident free, and 27 has been a number that appears a ton in Toon Turf, like 27 on Riggy's prison number, 27 being Dana's favorite number, Lucky's birthday being on the 27th, Toon Turf's release date being on the 27th, so I wonder what happened 27 days ago. After Riggy loses in chess and rage quits, Dolph hears them, and they run around trying to escape when a light sparks and lights a plushie on fire. Also, when Riggy is on the plushie conveyor belt, we see this text behind him, which I deciphered a couple hours after the episode released, and it said, "He must proceed forward." But take this with a grain of salt because I don't know if this is correct because the thing I used is not always correct. After they blow up the factory, Billy dies, and we get this scene with Darius and someone else wearing a Lucky disguise. During the news report, we see that Billy, Dolph, and Bolf all died. And if you look at Dolph's photo, it looks like he was being hugged by Ruby, but he looks really young, so I wonder if they were childhood friends. And if you look at the bottom headline, we can even get more lore. We see this inside joke about a Toonville airport being constructed, and when they asked when it was going to come out, they were told soon, which they said will probably be like another 2 years. Which, if you didn't know, this is what Dano told us when we kept asking where Toon Turf was, which came out 2 years later. Also, we see that Barry was fired from the ice cream store, and the owner was pressing charges against him, because apparently Barry was tampering with the machine, and we know that was Riggy's fault. And that Candy was launching a new album. At the end of the news broadcast, we can hear the news reporter say, "In other news, earlier today a body was found in Lake Jason. The body has been since identified as young Timmy Parrott, the kid Riggy tried to give his ice cream to. As it appears though he passed away from drowning this afternoon when asked for a comment, his mother," and then we can't get any more information after that. Also on the tree branch on Riggy's house, we can see Billy's penguin and this other creature. After the Lion King 1.5 reference, we get this scene with Lucky, and I was right. He was a part of the dealing since he destroys the footage. And if you look at his monitors in the background, you can see the camera footage, which we can make out the inside of the factory, the outside of the factory, the explosion, and they look a lot like these leaks we got from Dan O'Cal News. And he mentions that Riggy is going to get only worse while we can see the prophecy, or at least Riggy in the purple fire, in his eyes. And at the very end of the episode, we see RLR, which might stand for Riggy's Life Regrets. And then we see a kill count go from 0 to 3. Thank you so much for watching, but remember, there's 100% that I missed something in this video. Because remember, these are just theories. Spooky theories.